Hi, welcome back to Stomp the Pedal. I am here this week to talk to you about the bike cassette. Now, on your bike, you have a cassette, not the tape cassette that you used to put in the cassette player, although I'm not really sure many people of this day and age would even know what a cassette player is, showing my age. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you about the cassette. A lot of people ask me, what cassette should they get, or how do they know what cassette they already have on their bike? And half the time when I'm explaining to them how to identify things, they really struggle with the language I'm using. So I wanted to break it down to basics. Now, this is not the best looking cassette, but it's all I had that's not attached to my bike. So this is a cassette, okay? The cassette. Now, with this cassette, see all of these rings? See how there's a ring? There's just all these separate rings. Each of these rings is actually called a sprocket. This is called a sprocket. Okay? Now, on each sprocket, and I'll face this around again, but on each sprocket, you have what we call teeth. So each of these items here is what we call the teeth to the sprocket. Now, how do you identify whether you're riding a 10 or 11 speed cassette? And the way to identify that is you would count the number of sprockets on your cassette. The other alternative is, now, depending on how old your cassette is, but the other alternative is on the very front. Now, I'm not going to show if that's going to show up, but on the very front, on this cap section, it should tell you if it's a 10 speed or 11 speed. In this instance, mine is a 11 speed only. And unfortunately, the camera may or may not get that, but it's 11 speed only. And if I was to count each of the sprockets, there would be 11 sprockets here. Okay, now depending on the cassette that you have, be it 10 speed or 11 speed, each of the sprockets have the teeth. So we want to know the gear ratio. And in this instance, on this particular cassette, I have 11 on the smallest sprocket and 23 on the biggest sprocket of my cassette. Now, the smaller the sprocket, the harder it is to pedal, which means that when you're on the descents or on a flat course, it will give you more power. So the speed will be better, the power will be better. Whereas if you are on a climbing course or you're wanting to ride hills, the bigger the sprocket at the back, the more gear you have, the easier it is for you to ride. Perfect for hills. So this would be really good for a time trialist. Probably you might want 25 or 28, but if you were climbing hills, for example, you would definitely consider getting a bigger sprocket, making it easier to climb those hills. Now, if you're still unsure about which cassette to get, etc., I highly recommend speaking to your coach because they're going to know your plans in terms of what racing you're going to do, and they will make sure that you also have the correct gearing on your bike so that you can train appropriately. And, you know, taking the cassette on and off, I can do that in another video, but you can also go to your local bike store and the local bike mechanic will help you out. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will do my best to share more information and give you more of my tips. But yeah, that is how you identify the cassette in terms of sprocket, teeth, speed, and identifying the number. There is one more thing. Now, there is one more way that you can identify the setup of your cassette. I don't know if the camera is going to get this, but I'm going to go in really close. I don't know if you can see that, but there are numbers on the sprocket. Now, if you were to go to your own bike and have a really close look, shine the torch with your phone or whatever, you would actually be able to see on there some numbers, and it will actually tell you that it is an 11 speed. It will tell you it's a 10 speed if you have a 10 speed, but it will also identify, it'll say 1128 or 1123, but again, you have to get really, really close to the actual cassette. Anyway, I just thought I'd quickly share that with you before I sign off. Anyway, next week, see you later. Bye.